What does it mean when someone says, "Thank you for your service"? What are they really saying?
What's going on, everybody? This is SafeWord, your platform for teaching, learning, and opening the eyes of our audience to the world of kink, BDSM, and relationships. I am your host, Kane Marcos.
And I'm your other host, Aurora Storm.
And I'm your co-host, Callista Fury.
And I'm your other co-host, Knight Wagner.
And you are watching SafeWord. So today on SafeWord, we are going to be talking about protect and serve. When is servicing too much?
But first, make sure you like and subscribe for more content on kink, BDSM, and relationships.
So like I said, this is SafeWord, all right? And today we are going to be talking about protecting and serving and all that. But first, we need to say hello to our fan favorite. He watches our show every week. So crew, can you help me and say hello to Mr. Roy?
Roy!
What's good? So if you want your shout out like Mr. Roy gets his every week, make sure that you're doing what Calissa said, liking and subscribing. All right.
First of all, let's go ahead and talk about that safe word. We use a safe word, put a halt on all production and everything, just in case things get too hot, too heavy, you ain't being heard. Safe word of the day is badge. Ladies and gentlemen, badge.
Things first. Mr. Kane Marcos. Do we have Kink News? It's kind of just all the whole thing is Kink News, but you know.
So, getting into Kink News, hot topics, stuff that I bring every single week just to kind of add some color to our podcast. One of the things that I found this week, and I really wanted to bring it to the table and see how everybody felt about it. There was a family of Jewish descent back in 1938. They had in their possession a famous Picasso painting. It was I think the way that they describe it, it's from Picasso's gray days, where he was painting in hues of blues, grays, cool colors, called Woman Ironing. Well, they sold it for about $1,500, and account for inflation and everything else. $1,500 back in 38 was a lot of money, but definitely not what a Picasso painting would be worth. Even during that time. But they sold it because they were trying to get out of Germany on the rise of, the Nazi movement. So now that painting is located in, I believe it was the Guggenheim Museum in Manhattan. And, well, their great-great-grandkids want it back, saying that it was, they sold it under duress and that they never would have offloaded it if not for the circumstances, and that basically their ancestors got screwed on the deal, and using that as
welcome to the club,
why it should be returned.
Yeah, guess what? That's 80% of what's happening in the museums and art galleries. Yeah, nobody got top dollar for what they were getting.
Yep.
Sorry.
And I hate to say it, it's a little pretentious just to think that, hey, this used to belong to my family, and unfortunately for the circumstances, they kind of got screwed on the deal. But you can't put a bad business deal as legal precedent for property to be returned. I don't think it's a legal precedent for them to return it just because it was a shiesty business deal. I hate to say it, it was sold legally and it was transferred ownership multiple times before it got to the museum. There's a whole story about it, but the thing's changed hands a couple times. So, you're looking to compensate and go back on a lot of business deals just to return something that you think is rightfully yours. So what are your guys' thoughts on that?
I could understand a personal and historical significance to somebody's family heirloom, let's say. Yeah. The grandmother had a brooch. It was given to her by the queen. God got lost somewhere, somebody found it, changed hands a few times, and you say, listen, I'd like it back. It's my grandmother's brooch given her by the queen. Now, the museum could say, we appreciate its significance to you, and you're welcome to come see it anytime you like. But, we paid for it. Legally. I can't get back. Sorry.
It's so a while back ago, my grandmother had given me a heirloom, and she told me, and I just had it appraised. This is what it's worth. If you ever need it, you need to sell it. You can. You have my blessing to. If it ever comes to that. Now, I'm not going to lie, with inflation, everything that's going on. It's crossed my mind, but I'm not going to sell it. But let's say if I were. And let's say I have, grandchildren down the road and they find out about this heirloom, I don't expect them to have claim to that and say, hey, my grandma was under duress, times are difficult, and that what makes that right? What gives them that right to say, hey, this is what it was back then. She sold it under duress because of financial stress. What part of that makes it okay?
That's what pawn shops are for. Nobody goes for a pawn shop, be like, yeah, I just want, I want some extra money for my football league. No, you're selling your stuff because you need the cash.
Yeah.
Right.
That's all the rest.
All right. So in other news, last week we brought to you guys the gaming goldfish and the chick who plays Elden Ring using Only Your Mind. And
I still think you're making stuff up.
Well, yeah. And this one, like I said, I told you guys last week, wait for this week, because I had a story that if you guys didn't believe me last week, you're definitely not going to believe me this time. I tried to find the video because it's definitely absolutely terrifying. Scientists have created basically the T-2000 from Terminator 2, the liquid metal guy. There's an AI-controlled ingot about this big. They stuck it in a cage, and it's able to solidify itself and turn itself into liquid and partition itself out and regather. And it's on the video. Now, the exact extent of, how capable it is, it might have been, programmed just for the demonstration, but it literally turns into metal and goes through basically like chicken wire and comes out on the other side in several pieces and then kind of reforms.
But the fact that it can be programmed to even do that in the first place is just, because if it can be programmed to do stuff like that, it can also malfunction or therefore learn. And, we are living in Terminator. That's cool. That's real cool.
Hold on.
That's part of the Skynet program. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. It's all going up.
How do they get, let's say, because I know there are compounds that can get harder. They have that graphite, the magnet, it could squeeze through things, right? So I understand there's metallic compounds that are malleable. Fine. Physically, it's possible. But how do they get that it can be controlled by AI? How do we get the AI into the sludge? That's what I'm talking about. How does that happen?
And so that's the thing that's kind of confusing. And like I said, if you look at the video, I don't know the extent of how capable this thing is. It might have just been programmed just for the demonstration, but it does move itself from inside a cage to the outside of it without picking a lock, opening a door.
The way it's scary because if we can do that now, then what's to say next year we don't F up somewhere or don't have control, not even F up somewhere, don't have control over something that can do something like this.
My only 2 cents is, no doubt are these brilliant minds that's coming up with this technology. That's huge to be able to accomplish something like that. Aliens. But that is dangerous. Mm-hmm. And especially like Aurora said, if they lose control of that intelligence or it gets into enemy hands or whatever, that's huge. That's irresponsible in a way.
Well, we're starting the Terminator Wars as is right now.
Yeah, because we don't learn from our own creative minds of these movies and everything. Just
I am not a financial advisor, but if I were to buy stock in a company, Boston Dynamics would be one of them.
Yeah. They're the ones that are coming up with all these things.
Have you seen, if you guys ever get a chance, just go look at Boston Dynamics Robotics. You guys like?
You won't sleep.
I'm pretty sure you've seen it on the news. There's like it looks like a robot dog. It's got 4 legs. It walks around. It knocks itself over and it picks itself back up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was years ago. It can do now backflips, front flips. You bring your
Have you seen the Construction Crew?
Isn't that the same group that also had a hand in the AI that was in Japan or whatever, that has like the real flesh skin, and it's just shoulders and up? As a female, and she can
that thing.
She can learn. She can blink.
Oh, yeah.
She blinks like a normal human being. They had it almost perfect about 2 years ago, to where when they put her on this show, it's just a mannequin. Head up.
Remember when she said she wanted to kill humanity and you never heard about her?
Yeah, she got angry.
Right. And she looked human. There was only a couple little like glitches that she would do that was like, oh, okay, that's not human. That's not human.
Yeah. So
that was scary in and of itself. And I think they had a hand in it. I think they were actually on part of the development team for her. So yeah. When you put all of this together, okay? Now you hear about TikTok taking all the data, which it is. It's taking your data, all the apps that when you guys did your face swap apps, and it was taking your face and all that stuff gets scanned into the AI. That's what they were doing it for. Those apps, unfortunately, were owned by CCP, right? So they have that. They have DNA data. So right now we have, and NVIDIA just released, they have where you could be looking off to the side, and the computer will generate so your eyes are looking right at the camera. So you don't have to look at the camera. Right? We know deep fakes are getting better. We see that the physical technology is getting better. All of this, when you put all of that in one pot, you have an android that passes as human, can think. Chat GPT, right? Have you heard about what Disney's doing? So anytime that you're an actor in a Disney production, they archive you. They take your likeness, your imaging from head to toe. They scan you into a computer, and you have no rights to this imaging. They can use it for as long as they want. And now they've gotten so good with the technology where they age people back. Right. They don't even need the actor anymore.
Yep. So there will be skinwalkers in the future.
Yep.
Have you guys seen the Construction Crew from the robotic construction crew?
Yeah.
It's part of the same company that's doing that T2000, and it's literally just 5 or 6 of these anatomist robot things, and they're building a house. And the way that they can synchronize and get in sync with each other to raise a wall, hammer nails, pass each other tools, it's incredible. And then you realize, those things aren't going to always be building houses.
No.
They have those 3D molds. Yeah, they have the 3D mold houses and everything now, where it's like a machine just going through and cutting everything.
Yeah, the 3D printing. Yep.
Yeah.
They started 3D printing of houses and stuff.
That's the future, ladies and gents.
Ladies and gentlemen, all right, let's move into WALL-E, and pretty soon humans will just be obsolete.
Right, exactly. We'll be floating on a ship somewhere, trying to figure out where else to live.
Do me a favor. Dynamics and robotics and everything everywhere. Please, please, please don't make them able to change their own fucking oil. Make them need us for something.
There's that McDonald's. There's that McDonald's that's completely autonomous.
Yeah.
Particularly what you just said was enslave us. Please just make us still useful for maintenance. No, thank you.
I'm going to be part of the resistance.
Right. Annihilate me. I ain't changing no damn oil for a robot.
Part of the resistance.
There's a bunch of comedians that kind of cover the topic of, and it was like when they were drafting the Constitution, and they say, well, number 1, you should be able to say whatever you want. Number 2 should probably be you should own a gun. You should have guns. And so it's like building robotics and everything like that. It's just like, all right, they should be able to, do all this stuff on their own. We probably should have been able to make some. I think we should have started with lasers first. Like, can we get some weapons that'll be effective against them before you start making these things? Like,
we have the the religious space lasers.
That's cool. Just like put a railgun in every home if you're going to start putting people like robots out at midnight building houses.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Well, on a lighter note, maybe we could talk about some humanity for once.
Humanity ain't that much better, and we're going to get into that now.
Humanity is what is causing the problems with the AI. Okay.
Well, we can boil it all down to two things: survival and sex.
Yes, exactly. All right. Speaking of.
All right. Yep. Well, humanity. We've had our days. It's been cool. Speaking of which, and why robots are so much better than humans, getting into the humanity portion, I'd like to introduce Mr. Knight Wagner, who's got a very good story for us about a female officer in Tennessee. Knight?
Yes, you may have heard of Officer Megan Hall at this point. And if you haven't, you've been living under a rock. Now, she's an officer in Tennessee in a police department sex scandal where 5 colleagues got fired and 3 suspended because they were all involved with her in some way, shape, or form on and off duty. The married officer engaged in a number of sexual activities on the clock, squad cars, equipment room, lockdown, who knows?
I'm here for it.
And she's been getting a lot of blowback. Sorry to use that term. People have been really giving her a hard time.
Hard time.
Oh man, stop it. I could be here all night. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair, first of all.
No, absolutely not.
Well, our kink of the month is anal, so it fits right in.
Yeah, well, it was a talk about search and seizure. So the husband has stood by her, bless his heart. But the problem is, she told the other officers that she was in an open relationship. So he wasn't.
Oh, she wasn't?
No, the husband had no idea.
What? Okay, see, that's the part of the story I didn't hear. I thought they were. Like that's the last statement I'd heard.
He didn't sign on, but he's still sticking by her. Like I said, bless his heart.
Wow.
So, is it wrong?
All I gotta say is that snatch must be good. Okay, she did half the freaking dang department, and then her husband's still sticking around. Like, I know everybody been up in it, but like, it's too good to believe. What?
Like Kane can attest. When you're in that kind of environment, be it law enforcement or the military, it's a different environment. It's a different situation. It's not the real world.
Right.
So she doesn't necessarily have to be good. Available, I think, is all that's kind of necessary.
Willing.
Yeah.
Willing.
Yeah. It's a male dominated type of a job. And I actually have spoken to a lot of female officers. They gotta get approached like that regardless if they're loose or not. So
Well, and here's the thing: is like this is the only reason why this is a news story is because they found out about it. I mean, stuff like this happens all the time. Like I was laughing at all the memes when this came out, where her business is getting blown up out there, and it's like, yo, women in the military are like,
you know what I mean? They're like,
but,
I'm not one to slut shame another woman, but the only things that I don't agree with was on the job. And the fact that she lied about being in an open marriage.
Yeah, and yes, I would say
they have an issue with on the job unless, I don't know, there was some kind of major thing going down and it's in like some podunk town, right? So unless some kind of major thing is going down, what's the matter if you're getting it on in the broom? I got 15-minute break. If I got a 15-minute break, I'm going to take my 15-minute break.
You understand? I worked at a particular restaurant that sold burgers. It wasn't McDonald's. Okay. And I got called in the back quite a few times to go check out something in the manager's office on duty.
That's the restaurant industry.
You were earning them extra tips, weren't you?
And it was expressly prohibited in company policy.
Yeah, nobody follows company policy. People date all the time. People bang all the time. It doesn't matter. Like, okay. The only thing that's different here is that you got caught. 1, you're doing half of the freaking department. 2, and I mean, I don't think if this was not a small town, she would have been catching so much because stuff like this happens all the time. Walk in the streets of Manhattan, you'll see 2 people that are both cops banging in a freaking alleyway. You know what I'm saying? On duty. on duty, and there's shit going on.
Actually, that happens all the time. Well,
all the time.
Hopefully her life is not ruined because the internet has been really hard on her. A strip club in Tennessee has offered her $10,000 to come dance, or I don't know, do something, be security.
Well, shoot, maybe she's got a new career off of this. I'm just saying.
So if we see her on the OF,
right.
I'm subbing.
We'll get her on the show and interview her.
No, I don't know if you guys had this in your branch of the military. I'm pretty sure it was like pretty widespread. But do you remember the old chat line "Make her famous"? And so there used to be this like whole forum called "Make her famous," and usually it was for cheating spouses and partners, like guys who would get Dear John letters. They were like, "Oh, this chick cheated on me, but she sent me nudes, so here's her nudes. You know, shame her or make her famous." And now it's funny because back in the day that used to be bad, and now doing that's all you're doing is making them famous.
Yeah, that's the norm now.
I mean, you're not shaming anybody. You're not even giving them any kind of financial strife. Yeah, you're putting their idea of the future in jeopardy. But I mean, what was she making as a police officer who's now being offered $10,000 by a strip club?
Right.
And and honestly, what is it for me? It's like, what does it say about the economy that, people are looking at all kinds of sources of income, and that's just one of them. You know, like you wouldn't be mad if they had a side job, flipping burgers and also being an officer. Now you have a problem with them being a sex worker and also being an officer. And I mean, I get that the two shouldn't interact, shouldn't mix, but just like Aurora said, it's not like somebody robbed a bank because these two officers were busy across town. It's not like, massive waves of crime have now sprung up because the whole precinct is busy. It's like if there's downtime, there's downtime.
Well, okay, no, see, that's where, again, I disagree, because whenever, especially in a job like that, you need to be ready and on the go just like that. What if something were to major happen like that? But what a person does in their free time, that's none of my business. That's no taxpayer's business. That's nobody else's business besides what's going on between those people.
And I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Okay. Because then if you're going to go after people, like cops for having sex on the job, okay, then you need to also go after them for eating donuts when they're not supposed to be. They should be working and, patrolling the area. You should also be stopping them from like chilling out on the street corner, just hanging out and lollygagging while something is going on right over there. If you're going to do that, you got to do it all the way around. So they're going to do what they're going to do. I don't think that it should be something that is so punished if somebody is not being hurt because of it. But I've also heard people go, well, I'm not spending my tax dollars on this. So real question.
What you can control your tax dollars go to anyway.
Right.
No.
Here's an argument that I heard, okay?
I've never gone to H&R Block and said, I want this return to go to the potholes directly outside of this school. And you've been like, you know what? We'll allocate your funds there, sir. Thank you so much for taking part in your community. Hell nah.
Okay. But see, the argument is, especially for a lot of men, the argument is you guys are spending my hard-earned tax dollars on these cops that is clapping cheeks. If I'm gonna pay first, I better be clapping some cheeks too. I think it's just a jealousy thing though, but you know what I'm saying? Like I hop on bandwagon wherever they can, talk about my tax dollars. You don't care about your tax dollars. You care that somebody was getting some and this girl was loose and you didn't get none too.
Everybody gets a lunch break. All right. They get a break. They get a lunch break.
Okay, but still, what you do on that break, you're usually clocked out or on break of some sort. And then you had also mentioned making, rounds and doing their donut runs, gabbing with, Peter and Paul or whomever it is on the side of the road. But that another argument that can also be made is they're learning the neighborhood, they're learning the patrol area, they're learning to know what is regular in their patrol area or even in that area, so that way they know what's out of place.
Well,
some are old cops that this is their beat. It's been their beat for a minute and they ain't getting off their ass for fucking shit.
Well, and so
hey, there's good and bad in every profession, though. There really is.
Well, and that kind of leads into this next story, all right? Because it's not the only officer who's making the news right now. And so there's an officer in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm not going to give his real name out there just because, again, I don't agree with the way that they're going about this. I don't agree with the negative notoriety that they're trying to push on this, but. This officer has an OF profile, goes by the name Rico Blaze, and I'll shout him out just because, hey, he's got to make his money too. He's just hustling.
That sounds like a name on this show. What's going on?
Right. But Officer Rico Blaze was on call, not on duty, just on call, and was, filming some content, for his profile page. And I don't know how they found out about it. News hasn't disclosed that much, but the information got out there that he was engaging in sexual acts and filming them while on call. And again, the argument came up, if that's not what we're spending our tax dollars on. Well, the dude's just on call.
Come on, man.
To just phone away for like, if I'm off, I'm off. If I want to, like, here's the deal. Like, if he wasn't filming content and he was boning his wife or his girlfriend, would they have such a big problem with it? He's on call. Like,
he's not drinking, right?
There's usually some kind of stipulations for whenever any profession's on call usually can't, drink alcohol or take drugs or something, regular stuff like that.
You can't. But you can't be out of the city. You can't.
Exactly.
You have to answer within 15 minutes. Be able to respond within such amount of time.
Yeah.
And so
just like Miss Aurora said, absolutely. So whatever, if he was messing with his wife, what difference does it make? That's his own business.
Well, because he's filming.
What?
Like, why?
Because he was we didn't hear anything.
Oh, I
we heard he's filming.
Because he's filming. Like, that's the only reason why, is because he was making content, because he was filming it. What? Because they don't want their office. Like, it should have never gotten out in the first place. Obviously, he's using an alias name. He's doing this thing on the side on his own time. I get that maybe they don't want to see an officer in that light and have that exposed. But then who exposed him? You know what I'm saying? Because that obviously he wasn't trying to put himself out there. That I have an OnlyFans and I'm working for the police department.
So in this line of thought, right? Because he's not the only one in trouble for the same thing. There's an elementary school teacher that right now is getting dinged for having a side gig.
Yep.
And this happens all the time. There are people who have legitimate positions and side gigs. Are we trying to say that particular job, being a teacher or being a cop or being a politician, is you can't have something like that off on the side? Is that what we're trying to say?
Well, and this is the part that I don't get, is in keeping in line with that train of thought. This isn't new. This has been going on for ages. And like I said, the only reason why it's news is because they found out. And if you really want to look into it, how many times, if there's a male and a female librarian and they work together for years, there's going to be there's going to be a sexual connection at some point. It might, not pan out. It might not go anywhere, but the introduction will always be there. And every profession, any place where you have a group of, mixed genders, you're going to run into this as a complication, as a problem. That's why there's company policies about fraternization between coworkers. And that's why every company has them, is to try to reduce and mitigate it, because they know it's gonna fucking happen. You can't have men and women together in a singular place for prolonged periods of a day, every day, for as long as they choose to work there, and not have them romantically fantasize about coworkers. And some of them will act on it, some of them won't. But it's going to happen. And whether or not it produces a problem is really the main issue. Is just, I can understand from an employer standpoint where you don't want A coworker coming in bitching about B coworker not calling them back. It's like, hey, that's not company business. What you do on your own time is your own time. I get when it gets to the news, that's when it's just like, hey, now we have to exercise a policy where we can fire you for fraternizing with the coworker. But if it comes up, it's not an issue, and somebody finds out about it, for lack of a better word, willy-nilly, and it hasn't produced a problem, usually it's a warning. Companies aren't that stressed about it because they don't fire on the spot. Because it's not that big of an issue. They know it's going to happen.
Some are really big on.
Some let you go right there. It depends on your job. Like some will let you go right the heck there. Make an example out of you. It depends on the job and how strict they run the books. But I personally think what you're doing on your own time is what you're doing on your own time, and nobody should have a say in what you're doing on your own time. If I'm on call, I'm not on the job. Okay, I'm still in town. If you call me, I can show up. It wouldn't have been any different than him, having relations.
I don't judge that police officer. I don't judge Rico Blaze. I don't judge the lady from Tennessee. I don't judge her job as an officer. by what she's doing behind the scenes. Now, she may have exhibited poor judgment when it comes to following company policy. That's a different situation. That, you know, maybe she took a firearm home or something like that. That's one thing. But because she got busy, that's not something to say, oh, she's a bad cop because she likes sex.
Right. Exactly. Right. Yeah.
That's getting brushed under the rug right now. Did you guys hear about those 2 officers in Manhattan that got caught on their body cam?
Oh yeah, that happened too.
Yeah.
In the car. In the car.
I didn't hear about that one.
No, there was 2 officers. I think it's in New York. I believe it was Manhattan, but they got caught on the body cam doing a warranted search of a person's home that was on probation, and they were stealing from them, and they got caught on audio saying we can split the money. And so they're pocketing jewelry, they're taking cash, all of this stuff. And so to me, I'd rather hear that these 2 people were fucking rather than stealing. I'd rather that Officer Hall was, you know, banging her coworkers rather than, you know, supporting the drug trade, taking cash on the side and being a dirty cop.
Right.
So
I thought you were talking about the two officers in New York that were caught having sexy time in the squad car. Yeah. Because that had just happened as well.
Yeah. Yep. Nope. I'm sorry.
On that note,
see, this is why SafeWord's here. We try to normalize the fact that, hey, everyone has sex. Everyone does some kind of sexual relation in some way, shape, or form. And maybe it's not as bad as you think. You know what? If more people had more sex more often, maybe we wouldn't be where we're at today. Because I'm telling you, it's a stress reliever.
Handmade tale based on
getting any.
Right.
Well, so are you saying orgasms bring peace?
No.
Orgasms bring peace, baby. Orgasms bring peace to yourself.
That's how war starts.
You can do it by yourself. I'm telling you, orgasms are the big O.
Well, I want to say to the police officer in Tennessee, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for your service.
And thank you for servicing.
The service industry is tough, and I commend you for all that you do.
All right, so bringing you guys those little tidbits of information. So, crew, before we jump up on off of this, I say that 3 times fast. Before we get off tonight, we're gonna get off.
Get off tonight.
Does anybody have any closing thoughts, words of wisdom, anything that they'd like to share before we bid everybody adieu?
Yes, if you're gonna do some stuff at work or where you're not supposed to, in an alleyway, public, just exposure, please keep that shit a secret. Don't tell your friend, your cousin, your mama, your auntie, because obviously somebody ran around and said something about it. So just keep it to yourself until people can accept the fact that, we all have sex. Okay.
Share photos.
Because how else did anybody find out about this? Keep your mouth closed. Keep your mouth closed.
All right. Well, that's all we have for you guys tonight. We hope you guys enjoyed this. Like I said, we're keeping up with some popular topics, things that are happening and relating to kink all around the world. So thank you for joining us tonight. Remember, always communicate, always get consent, and always have a good weekend. Have some fun. Do something crazy. Try something new. Experiment.
And have more sex.
Have more sex. All right. Thank you guys so much. We will check you guys out another time. We hope you guys enjoyed. Again, we'll catch you later. Goodbye.
Bye.